breezes seem to whisper I love you. Birds singing in the sycamore trees. Dream a little dream of me, yes. Say nighty-night and kiss me. Just hold me tight and tell me you miss me. While I'm alone, blue as can be. Dream a little dream of me.
The origins of jazz are that of blues, marching band, folk and ragtime music, and has cultural origins in the early 20th century United States, as well as, and more significantly, New Orleans, which many say to be the birthplace of jazz music. Although the New Orleans jazz is the most popular and widely known, jazz came about as the slaves from Africa took their celebration dance and music to America, where they shared their music along with the other slaves' tribes' music, as well as the marching band music, which is popular in America at this time, altogether to make what we now call jazz. It's said to be this, as New Orleans is where many of the slaves were put, and the only place in America where they were allowed their own drums, and so they made music.
Their music was attended and enjoyed by everyone from different cultural and financial backgrounds. Jazz helped people feel free, especially if they weren't, such as the slaves that made the beginnings of jazz music in Europe in the 1800s and took it to America. Jazz highlighted the African Americans' contribution to American society and brought attention to black history and culture. But there are others who believe that the term jazz is a reminder of an oppressive and racist society and restrictions on their artistic visions.
Jazz is often characterised as a social event, as in that everyone has a say, and there were many different aspects to the making of the music, as there were African Americans, Irish and Italians, etc., all over New Orleans. As well as being positively social, it also had its problems.
One of these problems which faced jazz musicians was the blackface minstrelsy, which was a popular form of entertainment from the 1830s all the way to the 1900s, where normally white actors who put on blackface makeup, wore whale wigs, and spoke in wildly exaggerated African American dialects. This can be seen in the first episode of Boardwalk Empire, which is set in America in the late 1880s and shows actors in blackface makeup during a funeral procession, in which the Caucasian actors portrayed the African Americans as lazy, superstitious, and oversexed, cementing and popularising racist stereotypes.
Economic problems faced by jazz music included the Prohibition, the Depression and the suffragette movement. The Roaring Twenties boosted America's economy as transport and electricity became more widespread. Along with the economy boost, there was youth rebellion, which many people blamed on the popularisation of jazz, as it made people realise how wrong slavery was, and that women should have the right to vote.
Political issues faced by musicians in the jazz era was mostly the freedom of the slaves, and generally the political side is the same as the economical side, as people were realising that the slaves were people who should not be discriminated because of their colour. This was reinforced by JFK in his presidential run, as well as Martin Luther King Jr.
characteristics of jazz are that it contains polyrhythms, many rhythms being played at the same time, improvisation, swung notes, or shuffle notes, which are played on the first and third notes of a triplet, of which there are 4 in a bar of 4/4 time, and syncopation, emphasis of notes in surprising places. The instrumentation of jazz is typically double bass, guitar, piano, trumpet, trombone, bass, vibraphone, vocals, saxophone, drums, clarinet, and the Hammond organ. Jazz is a form of music which can adapt to the audience, the venue, and even down to the player's mood.
Dominic James Nick LaRocca was a cornet player in early jazz music and was the founder of the original Dixieland Jazz Band. First great jazz orchestra formed in New Orleans, said equally as contributed Louis Armstrong. His orchestra has only 5 pieces, but they were the hottest 5 pieces that had ever been known before. He took jazz to an international audience. He was chosen last minute as a replacement in Johnny Stein's band for a gig in Chicago in 1916. The recordings they made were the first commercially issued recordings in the jazz genre, and they made them famous. With their success, many other musicians from New Orleans made the trip up to New York to play.
He composed Tiger Rag in 1917, which is said to be the most influential and important piece of jazz music written in the 20th century, and by 1942 there were 136 cover versions. The influence of the original Dixie Jazz Band had on the development, formation, and history of jazz is undeniable, and they are one of the most important jazz groups ever recorded. In the 50s, he damaged his reputation by demanding that radio shows and the like referred to him as the sole creator of jazz. This did not work well for him.
Have you met Dolores? She's queen of the chorus. Have you met Olivia? Well, her I'll gladly give ya. There's one Queen Arula, Tallulah. For that gal Tallulah, they would fight a doula. They would climb a hill, they'd even paddle to Brazil. They all love her true love, Tallulah. When she starts on the conga, why, Madame Lazanga is fricassee. No one doing the hula can do what Tallulah can do to me. Have you met Fatima? Yes, and have you met Marquita? Have you met Jemima? Have you met Ophelia? Now here's a gal who's true love. We'll take Tallulah. When she starts on the conga, why, Madame Lazanga is fricassee. No one doing the hula can do what Tallulah can do to me. Have you met Fatima? And that marvelous Marquita? Have you met Jemima? She's a social climber. Have you met Ophelia? Ooh, she'll double dare.